Dirty little secret number 2. This one's really not just for privileged access management, but it is a lot of vendors in the security realm have this problem as well. And so what we're going to talk about today is security patching. So a lot of vendors do a great job. So a lot of vendors in the PAM space, privileged access management space, as well as identity space, they all do a pretty good job at patching their software. They're all good stewards of their code, and so when there's a vulnerability update or CVE, pretty much all vendors do a pretty good job at trying to roll out security patches as fast as they can. The problem with just rolling out security patches most vendors have is that they leave it up to their clients to download the patch and update their infrastructure themselves. That methodology invariably leaves some of those clients out and end up being out of patch or not up to date with their patches. Because the identity breach vector is the #1 breach vector, any PAM, privileged access management system, or any other MFA system, CASB system, single sign-on system, if those systems aren't patched and up to date, they're meant to be a countermeasure for the #1 breach vector, which means that those systems also can be a target as well. And if they're not patched, that makes them a pretty big target indeed. So that very expensive privileged access management system that you bought to counteract that breach vector becomes a Trojan horse in and of itself. What we do here at OverWatchID is we do automatic updates for all of our software components. So our head end, all of our agent software, et cetera, all of our orchestrator, our auto discover tools, and so on. All of that software, we have auto updates enabled for all that software. It's actually something that you can't disable. You can actually schedule it in a change window and so on. You can have kind of a rolling change for those patches, but you can't disable it. That's by design. Most of our clientele appreciate that, and what that does is it takes that burden of having to patch those systems off their hands, but it also creates a very secure infrastructure. Again, like I talked about, if it's not patched, it actually becomes a breach vector in and of itself. So that's why we do that. Most people are used to automatic patches these days as well. A lot of our clientele are already in public and private cloud spaces like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. All of those infrastructures, Office 365, et cetera, all those infrastructures do automatic patching, and it's just taken for granted that those systems are patched. We took that idea and implemented it within all of our software to make the software more secure.